Hello, hello, Marcella, Anastasia, Psita. Awesome to see you, everyone. Elena, I'm waiting for your request. Vanessa, awesome. I'm good, Marcella, thank you. We're waiting for Elena now to join us. Elena, hello.
Hi.
I see.
How are
I
you?
see you flip.
Oh, my camera? Okay, wait, maybe you can. Oh, wait. 1 second.
No worries.
Okay.
We're waiting for others to join.
Alright. Let me see if I can do it like this. It's really high now.
I think it's good.
Okay, great.
Awesome. How are you?
How are you? I'm good. Yeah, how are you? From
I'm
Amsterdam.
good. I'm good as well. We're waiting for some more people to join, and we will start in a second. And
Hello. Hi, Luis. Huh, nice.
how is the weather in Los Angeles today? It's 9:30 for you.
Today, it's not that good today. Today it's really cloudy, actually. Yeah, it's cold and cloudy.
All right.
Well,
Well,
it will clear up. It will clear up.
Eventually everything will clear up.
Yeah, I'm just gonna try and put my camera a little bit more to the back.
Yeah, go for it.
I think it's better now.
Yeah, maybe you can tilt it, like maybe you can lower it down a little bit so we can see more of your face.
Yeah, it's on this thing, so I don't know if I can. Yeah, is it too high or is it good?
A little bit, maybe a little bit below.
I don't think it's gonna work. Yeah.
All right.
Maybe I have to sit more like this. Okay.
Awesome. All right. Well, I believe that more people will be joining in. It's been only a few minutes now, 2 minutes, but I think we can slowly start. First of all, while we are waiting for others to join, I will introduce the topic, and then we will, introduce ourselves. So thank you everyone who has joined so far, and I believe more people will be joining. And the topic of our today's webinar with Elena is the importance of a women community. We believe, both of us, we believe that this topic is very important, and today we want to talk about the competition between women, amongst women, how it started, why it's happening, what we can do about it, what we can do as women when we are, put into toxic environments, and how we can go about ourselves and our own, well-being and our own qualities in order not to be competitive, in order to live a happy, authentic, and awesome life. And my name is Julia, and I'm the co-founder and chief marketing officer of fashionpotluck.com, a women community, a social media platform for women. Therefore, it's awesome and important for us all to talk about it today. And Elena is a freelance PR manager from Los Angeles. And how about you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, yeah. So I've been doing marketing and PR for about 12 years now. My background primarily is in the communications world. And so about 4 years ago, I moved to Amsterdam, where I worked for startups as well as multinational companies. And so I really developed a deeper love for applying PR tactics and strategies and communications plans. So basically, I've always worked in a corporate environment, whereas now I transitioned to being a freelance PR manager here in sunny LA. Well, not today, but yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Elena. So when we were discussing a topic for our webinar, we had a lot of different topics, but we both decided to talk about this particular one, the importance of the women community and how we can help each other as women, especially on a global scale. So could you tell us a little bit more about why you chose, why you suggested this topic and why it is important for us to talk about it today?
Yeah, I think it's so important. And, you know, from a young age, I've always been surrounded by really strong women. I always felt a strong bond with the women around me, like with female friendships. I have a strong bond with my mom as well. And I feel that it always brought me kind of stability. And these connections always brought me, you know, stability in my life. And I feel that there's so much power in the support and the help of a woman. And then I found this really fascinating that when it comes to work, many women have experienced the total opposite, you know, of that, and experience being bullied by other women, or, you know, that they have to compete with other women. And it's so contradicting because we would value these females and, you know, these female friendships in our personal lives, but then we turn on to them at work. And that's why I really also dislike these quotes that you see circulating on social media, like boss bitch, or, you know, nice girls don't make history, things like that. And I really think it's an outdated concept that you have to be a bitch to reach your goals or to have success. You can also get what you want by just being nice and just being kind. And, you know, kindness is often seen as a weakness, or sometimes people think it's corny or, you know, cheesy. But that's not true at all. I feel that kindness is powerful because you don't know what people are going through. And, you know, just by smiling at someone or just being nice, you can reach so much more than when you're mean. Or so, you know, it's human to feel competitive sometimes, and it's normal to feel jealous, but we have to not give into those negative emotions and, you know, not let them dictate our relationships with one another. And I truly believe in the power of the pack, and that together as women we can be super strong and have an impact.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, especially what you were saying about you don't have to be mean, you don't have to be a bitch, you don't have to be a bad girl in order
Yeah.
to, you know, reach success. I also believe that the concept is outdated, and I saw while you were talking, I saw that many of our community members, they would also say true facts. So I think we
Yeah.
are on the same wave here today, which is awesome. Yes, agreed. But they talking a little bit about the competition. So yes, we are stronger together as women. That's a fact. Definitely, that's why we're all here together as well. But talking about the competition, there is a lot of competition amongst women nowadays. Historically speaking, there were different reasons for that. But nowadays, like the modern competition, why do you think it's happening? What you know, what influences it, and what are the effects of the competition?
Yeah, well, I think female rivalry has always been there. It's a super old tale. You know, also with literature and books and films and TV shows, often pitting women against each other. And also, it's kind of a big part of evolutionary psychology, right? It started with the natural selection and, you know, Darwin's theory. So I think it's an evolutionary thing. Now, this is where women's competition backfires a little bit with the introduction of social media. I feel that before social media, women were only competing with girls in their neighborhood or their street or their schools, or and now with social media has made it now so that everyone can get a peek into the lives of everyone. And so I feel that that really stimulates a little bit of that competitiveness between women, because you automatically compare yourself to other women or other lives, and you don't know what's behind that. So I feel social media has facilitated that as well. Yeah. What do you think? Like, do you think that social media has a big impact on that too?
I think I think social media has a massive impact on it. I think especially so nowadays. I think especially so with Instagram and Instagram filters, and you know, and this
We
picture
have no filters.
culture. Yeah, we don't have
No,
any
it's
filters.
all...
Absolutely not. But yeah, I think also before that, you know, there was of course Hollywood movies. Before that, you know, there were different, as we were talking yesterday, there were different like, feministic movements that were cut by introducing different myths. You know, the beauty myth that we were talking about, and we will hopefully talk about it publicly as well. You know, like when, you know, there were different feministic movements, and then women were, you know, like fighting for their rights together. But of course, it's not something that is, beneficial for men, like we live in a man's world, and I don't like saying that, but essentially it is so. And when women are strong, when women are united, it's not exactly like a perfect combination for men. So every time we were stronger together, in my opinion, I think historically speaking, there was a big clash. There was something happening to basically to not like make us work together, to make us weaker, to make us like by ourselves. So I think there was a beauty myth then, when women had to look pretty, that women had to learn how to be pretty. Then of course we had Hollywood movies, and you have to be slim, you have to be blonde, you have to be skin perfect, you have to fight for attention of men. If you want to get the richest, the prettiest guy, you need to be this and that. You need to be the best housewife, you need to be the best mother. There was always competition. But yes, going back to your question, I could talk for like hours on end. Yes, social media, I think, increased this impact even more so. And I would even jump into, the effects of this competition nowadays. There's so much of this competition that, thousands, millions of women have a low self-esteem, or lower than they should. Thousands of women are depressed. Many even commit suicide because it's too much. So I do think what we're talking about today is extremely important. And I do think we need to, figure out how to at least tiny bit change it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you think? I wanted to ask you, what do you think? Like, what can we do to, control this competition? What can we as women do to lower it down a little bit?
I really believe in mentorship, or like advocacy, and like also creating opportunities for other women. Like if you see a woman struggling, don't judge her. I think we sometimes are guilty of that too, like the judgment. And instead of judging, I think it's really important to ask how you can help, and just listen and share information about how you've succeeded on projects, and just open up to them, and that they feel safe, and also compliment each other and give credit to each other. Like it's not a competition, it's reinforcing their ideas and suggestions, and yeah, in a positive way. So it also increases their chances of being heard, or the women in your environment, and also let women talk. Like it's not about gossiping, but when women are stressed out, talking literally calms us down. So I feel that talking, listening, and just be a mentor for especially also younger girls. I remember when I was doing an internship, I was just out of college, and I didn't have that. The woman that, the owner of the company I was working for at the time I was interning at, she was really cold and distant. And like, I felt as a young girl, I looked up to that, and I didn't really have that mentorship. And I remember thinking, like, if I one day have interns, I will not do it that way. I just want them to feel welcomed, and because that also increases productivity. If you are, if you are like a mentor and you help them, you're constructive with your criticism and you help them, then I mean, there's so much value in that than just being distant or cold. Or yeah, I truly believe being a mentor can accomplish so much.
I agree, and I would like to even add to that. You said the word help. I think it's very important to help each other. I think this is a very crucial moment in this whole competition part, because yes, you can share your story, but I think it's really, really important to offer a helping hand.
Yeah.
Whether you want to help them out by spreading the word about something they do, whether you want to help them proactively with some skill set that you have, or any other way, or even them to another person. I think that is very important. And I think talking about the personal examples, this is something that I'm lacking as well. Like as an expat here in a different country, it's extremely hard to get into this different crowd. here in the Netherlands, for me, I feel like it's hard to get into the circle of people who everyone knows everyone. It's kind of hard to get in. And I would like, for women to offer more help to each other, more help, more collaborations, more support, proactive support.
Yeah, no, I agree. And also introduce your friends or women to other women so they can network and, invite them to events or start a club. Here in LA, we just started a Belgian girls club because I'm Belgian. So, yeah, it's like I met one person and then through that person, I met another person. So there's power in that. And you can really empower each other, through networking and through meeting other women who have stories to tell. And then, so yeah, collaboration.
I agree.
Collaboration over
Note,
competition.
yeah. On that note, like talking about the clubs, so we with Fashion Potluck, with this webinar, we're also starting the series of webinars, which will eventually lead to our women club, which we will basically launch very, very soon. I think within the next weeks. So that's another cool way to celebrate. Yay! Thank you. And yeah, we're looking forward to seeing everyone there as well. Okay, cool. So we can definitely collaborate, we can help, we can do all those awesome things, but how do we deal with women who have a very competitive mindset? Because if you offer help, she might even take it, but she might not like be the same way to you back. So how do you go about women who have competitive, I would even not be afraid of this word, toxic mindset, because this happening often as well.
Yeah, it can definitely turn toxic for sure. I mean, being competitive, don't understand me wrong, I think it's healthy to be competitive, when you're playing Monopoly or whatever, but when you when you go to workplace and you're undermining your colleagues and you're doing everything to get what you want by discrediting other people, then that becomes really toxic and just negative, and it's just not productive at all. So when you deal with a toxic or a really overly competitive person, I would say the first thing is just try to understand where they're coming from, be understanding, because mostly when you deal with a person who's overly competitive, she's constantly comparing herself to other people, so that must be very exhausting in the first place. And wondering how she's measuring up and worrying about being a failure. So it comes from a place of self-esteem. So if you can, it doesn't excuse that behavior, but if you can understand where that person is coming from, that can help you a lot in like dealing with it. But if it's becoming overly toxic, then I would say talk it out and just tell her your grievances, how you're feeling, and just be open to that conversation. But also recognize the good qualities of that person, because I'm sure when you met that person, she was not that competitive, or that side of her didn't really show. So maybe you can think of all the really good traits of that person and what attracted you to that person in the first place, and just come from that perspective, like recognize the good qualities of that person. Because sometimes it can be so obnoxious if someone is very competitive and toxic that it can, overshadow her good traits. But if you really think about it, then there's good. I mean, no one comes from a bad place. It's just the environment. And I think you're a product of your environment. So
I think it's very true. Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Yeah, I think it's very insightful. I think it is very true, and I agree with you that she wasn't like that at some point. So, but I do think it's important to talk to the other women, and because otherwise we will never fight this competition. I think talking maybe over it if it's possible, whenever it's possible, it's very important. So one of the questions that we put into the announcement of this webinar is how we as women can support each other and lift each other up. And we of course said already a lot of things about talking, mentoring, helping, but how would you go about it globally? How would you go about finding a supportive crowd globally? Because I also think that many women might not have that support around them.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you go about it on a global scale as well?
I would say by listening, encouraging, complimenting each other, even on social media. Like, be authentic, tell your story. If you have an experience that you want to share with the world, do it. You know, be authentic, be yourself, and maybe there will be someone who can recognize themselves in your story and feel that they're not alone in this, and then they can, you know, feel empowered to tell also their story. So then you can start, you know, with social media, it's super easy. You can start globally, like that. Just tell your story, be authentic, and
Yeah.
there's always someone who can recognize themselves, be relatable, and I just really feel that there's so much power in that right now, especially, but also networking. Yeah, I keep emphasizing it because it's really important. Yeah,
Yeah. And
so
I
you can
think,
meet your.
yeah, I think networking is important, and I think nowadays there are a lot of women communities that one can join and interact with others and meet different crowds. I do
Yeah.
want to say that I like that you put emphasis on authenticity, because for me personally, this quality, it's extremely important. And I think it's extremely important to find an authentic crowd of women, and not necessarily women who would just be supporting you for the sake of saying this, And it's like, yeah, you're the best. That doesn't really help.
No,
Like, it
no.
has to be meaningful. It has to be authentic.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah.
there are,
Yeah, sharing ups and downs, you know, sharing the journey, the reality of life. So that makes them not feel alone or less alone.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and
definitely.
also, surrounding yourself with positive people is very important too. Um, People who will encourage you and who will, you know, root for you and cheer you on. I think that's crucial.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And another tip that I would have that it might be a bit problematic for myself sometimes, I think you should not be shy to reach out to women personally. Drop a message, maybe ask for a favor, maybe, or just, have a chat. I think many women are quite shy about it. So it's not only about the big groups, it's also about like one-on-one, virtual coffee, etc., etc. Okay, cool. So just a small recap. We discussed the competition, how it arose. Of course, we didn't, touch upon many historical reasons that were there. We briefly jumped through history. Social, social media also helped to build this competition. If you can use the word help here, the effects are pretty bad of that. There's a lot of competition that's not good for women. And we discussed also how we can go about it, how we can deal with toxic environments. So we discussed what's happening around us, the competition, how we deal with this. But what about looking inside yourself? So how can we as women, what qualities can we develop or improve in order to look within ourselves instead of competing with other women? What do you think?
I think if you want to find a supportive crowd, and I think you should start with yourself and be supportive of yourself first. I think that's the beginning point. Like, if you don't support yourself, then what is there? So I think by being supportive yourself, and you know, that's the basics. So just be what you need in those situations, and also surround yourself with people who are positive, and start filtering out people that don't really, that don't really are involved in gossip or drama or chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you start there, and also being involved with people or organizations, like before COVID, I volunteered a lot. In Amsterdam, I volunteered, and then here in LA. So I think if you can have a cause where you support other lives or are involved in other people's lives, so you can see what is out there and you can see what other people are struggling with, that really opens your mind to so many things. And I love that. And yeah, so I would say be supportive of yourself first, and then surround yourself with positive people. Filter out all the negative people, people who gossip, are involved in chaos. Avoid them at all costs.
Yeah.
It's just not healthy.
Yeah.
And then I would say, you know, go volunteer, or, you know,
Yeah.
be involved in a cause, in a good cause. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a very good point, and also a bit unusual. I think if you do indeed go volunteer, you do see the world from a slightly different angle. But what I also think is that uh, I'm not a fan of competition myself. Like I mentioned it several times, you know, through my social media, to my friends. I don't like competition in any shape or form, especially when we're talking about women. You know, there's good competition in some games or like in a like fun way, but in terms of competing women, I don't like it. I do not understand it. I think it's extremely an extremely unhealthy concept. At the same time, I think that when you look inside yourself, when you focus on your inner growth, self-development, if we all would do that, if we would focus on our growth and achievements, the competition wouldn't exist, because we would try to become the better version of ourselves every day instead of a better version of someone else.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah,
if you focus on yourself and you focus on your passion, and you just focus on that, and you filter out all the what other people are doing, and so you can just really focus on yourself, I think that's super, like, that's great, that's super helpful.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention this concept of eudaimonia. I discovered it from a book that we're going to mention at the end. It's a concept which was first introduced by Aristotle, but of course it was slightly changed multiple times by different psychologists as well. That's seeking happiness, seeking happiness for basically fulfilling your not desires, because it would be happiness, but more like you find happiness through your own inner growth, through self-development, and through focusing on your inner world. And I really like eudaimonia and the concept of it, because this is what I'm trying to do. Like I'm trying to set the goals for myself. I'm trying to self-develop through multiple ways. I'm trying to grow so many different things, and that I don't have nor time nor energy nor desire to compete with other women. And like feeling like I'm not familiar. Well, maybe at some point I was. I'm not sure, but nowadays I'm not familiar with like the feelings of jealousy or anger to other women, just because it's honestly, it's like I don't think I have nor time nor energy for that, and I'm just too focused on things that I'm doing. And if I see something where a woman is succeeding, or where she's better at something than I am, I'm like, oh wow, I want to do that as well. So let me go back and do it myself. So yeah, just to conclude my thought, I think that might sound cheesy, but we need to look inside ourselves, and we need to try and focus on ourselves. And what you and I would discuss briefly yesterday is that at the same time, everyone has very different journey, their unique journey, and even some journeys are similar. At no point in life they will be the same.
No, so there's no reason to compare yourself, because everyone, just because a woman is successful, you don't know what she's been going through to reach that success. So everybody has a different story, and you don't know what's behind her success. So there's really no reason to compare yourself to others. But I feel like now with reality shows as well, like you see all these perfectly staged reality scenarios, and it's just easy to be sucked into that, and start comparing yourself with, like, oh, she wears the most beautiful clothes, or she has it's all material stuff. So it's also reality shows that has kind of fabricated that thought that we have to always,
Yeah, definitely. I just think this has to do, because we're jumping back a bit, I think this has to do with unrealistic images, because as we mentioned earlier as well, like Hollywood movies, social media, and reality shows, it's they show us these pretty women, but we forgot to mention that this is unrealistic pictures of these people. And many women, especially young women, they do not compute. It's natural. They might understand it, but it doesn't necessarily compute that this is an unrealistic image, and that none of those women actually has such perfect, poreless skin and perfect body and perfect life. And I think that's very important for the masses to understand, not only to understand and hear, but to actually compute. So, yeah.
No, sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I was thinking, so we discussed a few, I introduced a few books now, and I thought maybe we could share a few useful resources, because I believe that learning more about this topic can also benefit women a lot, because from books I learn a lot, and I think it's very important. What do you think?
I would say on a global scale, I really love what the United Nations are doing. They have a special platform for women. It's unwomen.org. And if you go on that website, they do a lot of gender equality, human rights, and it's just super fascinating what some women have accomplished. So if someone is interested in that, you should really definitely go check out the United Nations Women platform. It's fascinating. It's really interesting. And then there's a really good book as well by a woman that I really admire and I think is so intelligent, and like I really think, wow, what she has done is just amazing. And it's a book by Hillary Clinton. She wrote it with her daughter Chelsea, and basically she collected stories from women throughout history who made history, and it's the book of gutsy women. So if anyone wants to read it, it's a really good book, and there's a lot of inspiration in that, and anything is possible. Women can do a lot, and it's a really great book. I love it. Yeah,
I agree. Adding a little bit to the UN Women, all of our community members who follow our Instagram, they probably know, I hope, that we on a weekly basis we share like facts about women and gender equality and inequality. And all of these facts, well, the great majority of them we do take from the UN Women.
Yeah,
so definitely a good stories.
Amazing what they're doing. Yeah, and then there's another book. It's actually written by an ABC news reporter here in the US, and she wrote a book about kindness and how that's a superpower, and the book is called Your Hidden Superpower. And I really recommend that too, because we were talking about kindness, that you don't have to be a bitch to reach your success or to reach a certain goal or to reach the C-suite. So I think, kindness definitely is a superpower. So for anyone who is interested in that or wants to develop more kindness, you should definitely read that book. It's
awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds really good, and I think we can provide the list of this resources somewhere later, probably in the description of our IGTV. From my side, I think at the moment what comes across my mind, I would recommend 2 books. There are definitely more, and we generally share selections of different books in our Instagram account, feminist books about relationships, psychology, etc. But from my side right now, I will first mention this book, Authenticity. No, it's not Authenticity, it's actually Authentic. Looks like this. Authentic and How to Be Yourself, by Professor Stephen Joseph. This is where I learned about the concept of Eudaimonia that I mentioned earlier. And it just basically talks about why it is important to be authentic. Could be a simple question, but it's actually not. And a lot of people are not really being authentic. So definitely recommend for all the women to read and understand why it is important and how they can be more authentic and how it can actually improve their life. And at the same time, I have this other book here. Well, it's in a different language, but it's actually The Beauty Myth by Naomi Wolf. And this is the book that I was mentioning earlier, I'm still in the middle of it. I'm still reading it. For me, it's a slow read because it has a lot of resources, has a lot of data points. So it is a book about the beauty myth. It's about how it was created, and introduced to women by men at some point, as to stop the another feministic movement. There were, of course, multiple, not movements, but like waves, I would say. There were definitely different feministic waves around the world, and women are very, very strong, and many men also know it. Women could do a lot. Yeah, women are fantastic, and in this book they basically show, yeah, in this book they basically show that women could rule the world, and I would honestly, personally, would be really, really curious to see how that would be. I think it would be a very different world.
Well, we have a female vice president, so that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, we have a lot more women in the government now, so let's see how that goes. So quite excited. But basically, yeah, it shows that with different feministic waves, men had to come up. It's a very primitive explanation. Men had to come up with different ways to stop those movements from spreading, and one of them was the beauty myth. Because then, when women had to stay with kids, it was like their one job, and they were really busy with that. Then, they started working after the World War II, and women could work as well. And then they were managing and work and babies and families and making food. And then, like when women could even take even more, when they could possibly even move through the career ladder, then there was this beauty myth, okay, no, now you actually have to also look good. And for us today, it might come across as natural, but back then, women would not know, okay, how do I do makeup like that model? How do I make my hair? Like, how do I look that slim? And, if you would not meet those standards that were set, then you could not exactly, move further. There was a sort of glass ceiling. And I'm just in the beginning, not the beginning, in the middle of this book, but I'm quite, excited to see what's gonna come after that later.
Yeah, no, sounds super interesting. I'll take a look. You have to send me the links of the title of the books again, so I can check it out.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we will definitely mention all these resources, and I saw a lot of comments, and I saw that a lot of our women were agreeing with us.
Yeah, I see all the comments. Yes, girl. Yeah. That's so nice. I love it.
Yeah. If any of you have any questions or comments, please feel free to drop them. And we will be happy to respond to them. Otherwise, yeah, I do.
Everyone is shy.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I got interrupted by the doorbell, but the book is amazing, and I highly, highly recommend it. And I think recently, a few days ago, maybe a week ago, we also published a list of feminist books, and we also share them in our newsletter sometimes. So it is, it is important to read good resources. It is important to be educated.
Just to educate, yeah, to educate yourself. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, I definitely agree.
And as women, we can do, whatever we want. Like this book about the beauty myth. It's not that beauty is bad or you shouldn't. No, it's like you can do whatever you want, but this should not, blur your vision and not allow you to, move forward through the career ladder, or it should not be something that you have to do because everyone is doing this. So
yeah, no, for sure. And I think as women, I think we have a long way to go, but I mean, how it's going now, we have accomplished so much already. But I do think we still have a long road ahead of us. Also equal pay, things like that. It's still an issue, and it shouldn't be. But yeah, let's see. I hope maybe with the female vice president, maybe some, and all women at UN, United Nations, and all those amazing organizations.
Yeah.
We're doing wonderful work. So
yeah, definitely, definitely. And if we start with ourselves, then we can even make a change. I see a few comments. Thank you, Sasha. Thank you, everyone else who is agreeing with us. And there is a question from Luis. How can women react to men who are willing to stab others in the back to get ahead?
what was the question? Sorry, I didn't understand.
How can women react to men who are willing to stab others in the back to get ahead? What do you think?
How can women deal with men?
React to men who are willing to stab others in the back.
I would say create boundaries and learn how to say no and stop. And I think creating boundaries for yourself as well. What do you think?
Well, I think that this is in general. I think in the question it shouldn't be like women and men. I think it's more like we can say like women reacting to people who are willing to stab people in the back. I think I'm taking the question a bit more personally, but I don't think that stabbing others in the back to go ahead, or even going on top of the heads of others to reach something. I just in general think it's not a cool it's not a cool attitude. So how can women react? I think if the woman would be like me and she would not be okay with this, I think the reaction should be actually say this. Say, this is not okay to do things like this. That could be fairly my reaction.
Louise, women as well.
Yeah. I would just say this.
Women.
I'm generally not afraid to express my feelings or thoughts to others.
No. Yeah, but I do feel that maybe men, especially in the workplace, that men are kind of sometimes a little bit more aggressive is maybe too strong of a word, but like overpowering sometimes. So I think in that aspect, it's sometimes maybe some women have difficulties of speaking up directly at that moment, and not or in a meeting, or when someone really tries to undermine you, that women are maybe afraid to speak up, and then afterwards you're like, oh, I should have said that, or I should have said
that's a good point.
So I think it's important to like really in the moment to speak up in the moment, that so learning that I think, for me, I had to learn it too, to like really speak up and really say like, no, this is my boundary, and this is right, this is wrong. So creating boundaries is super healthy, and I think it can benefit you so much.
I totally agree.
It teaches people how to treat you, and it creates a mutually respectful relationship if you create boundaries for yourself. So if someone disrespects you, a woman or a man, I think for yourself you have to create a boundary and say like, this is as far as I would go, and this is my boundary. And I think if that other person understands that, then you will create a more respectful relationship, and that's in your daily life or work, or
I totally agree. And I would even add here that you mentioned it's not only about the gender, whether it's a woman or a man, but it's for me it's also about the position like of people, because we tend to be okay when someone makes a bad comment, negative comment, or a weird statement or anything else when it comes from a position of power, and luckily like I managed to deal with this, but it's not okay. Like whether you're talking about, I don't want to bring up examples, but I think even if a position, even if the comment is coming from a person in a position of power, I think you should still be able to set the boundaries, and there are different ways you can express yourself politely, but I think it is important to speak up and like mention when you like something, or you feel off about something. We have a lot
Someone
of
is saying, how can we educate and inspire women to be more accepting of each other's success, or accepting personally, to create a healthy relationship and environment for everyone? Thank you. Let's see. Epsis? Thank you. That's a really nice question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say start with yourself. Be that person, be what you would need in those situations. Just,
yeah. I'm still reading the question because it's running away.
Yeah, me too. It's so hard. Yeah, and inspire. I think now with social media, there's so many great tools to use. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok even. I've seen amazing videos on TikTok, people who share incredible stories and how they overcame their, struggles, or you can see how much people interact with that and engage with that. So I think you can be an inspiration by sharing stories and be authentic, what we talked about earlier, and just share your ups and downs and let people know that they are not alone.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's super important.
Yeah, I agree.
And we have all the tools now. We have all the tools now to make yourself heard, to let other people talk about their experiences. I mean, and so you don't feel alone in this. If you have an issue, or you're not alone in that, because there's so many people who can share their story. So that's, I think that's so valuable. Yeah,
I
for
agree.
sure.
And I think it's a very good question. Indeed, from Ipsita, I had to read several times because it was running away. I think it's a good question. I think what you shared, Elena, is good as well. If we share our ups and downs, that will definitely help. If you share two sides, of a coin. And at the same time, I would also add that, in order to be more accepting of others' success, right? Yeah. I think I would, slightly repeat myself. I think it also starts, within yourself. That, I think the success of another woman, I would even use the word should, be rather motivating and inspiring for you than, cause jealousy or some negative feelings or emotions. Cool. Awesome. Yeah. Exactly that issue. Great. And we actually missed one comment because I think it ran up. I think the woman is Kim. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name.
Oh, Kim. Oh, yeah. Love her.
Because we were talking about the comments from other people, how they make uncomfortable, and she actually messaged us that her issue is more coming from women's snide comments.
Snarky comments? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think when you deal with like snarky comments, I think that it's not you. Don't take it personally. It's that person. She's coming from a place of maybe insecurity, or it's not you. It's that person, the person who makes that snarky comment, because it's unnecessary. So I would say it's easier to deal with it if you don't take it personally. It's really hard, but when someone makes a backhanded comment or a snarky comment or sneaky, I would say don't take it personally. Yeah.
It's hard. I would agree.
It's them, it's not you. Yeah.
Yeah. I myself, even though I tend to believe I have, a good self-esteem, I do, when someone is trying to mock me directly or indirectly, I can be a bit sensitive to those things, but that's just a personality trait. But you just, as you're saying, you just need to forget it. It's not you. It's really not you.
So, yeah, wash it off. I think it's them. They are coming from a bad place. Maybe you don't know what people are going through. You don't know what is in their lives. You don't know what their story is, what they at that moment, so it's them. It's not you. And if you come from that perspective and think okay. And I think also the best way when you deal with someone who, because that happens a lot in the workplace too. I can speak from experience. women who try to, like, you know, because of jealousy or competitiveness, they make these comments. So I think the best way is to kind of avoid it until a certain point where you cannot avoid it and you have to talk it out. But I think by kind of ignoring it, it makes them feel less of, you know, having power if you're not engaging in it, because that creates drama, and you don't want that. So I would say, if you deal with women who like to say you know, snarky comments, or like to give snarky comments, I would say just ignore it and wash it off and think it's them, it's not me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I would also just want to make a small note, which is hopefully clear to everyone, that it's not nice, it's not okay to make such comments to other women. We should be kinder to each other.
Yes, we should. And it's funny because you don't act like that with your friends in your personal life, and then at work you like competitive, and I think that has to do with the fact that, you know, the evolutionary theory that we were talking about, that we always had to compete for, you know, to be for the other sex. Yeah, right? I think that's where it's you know, that's where it's stemming from, maybe. I don't know. But that competitiveness, it's fascinating that, you know, you don't act like that with your mother or your female friends, but you do it with colleagues. Doesn't make sense. So it's almost counterintuitive that you would do that. And as women, we should definitely support each other.
Awesome.
For sure. Because, you know,
yeah,
we're all we got together, sisterhood.
Exactly. And we're definitely stronger together. We're strong by ourselves for sure, but we're also stronger together. I'll just read a few last comments, and we will slightly round it off, because I think we also don't have much time left. Through Instagram, Sylvia is saying that there is a lot of there is so much strength in sharing your story and in helping others know they're not alone. Absolutely. Yeah, and there are so many wonderful comments, and I wish we could save them, but the comments will not be saved. But in any case, thank you, Elena, for joining us today. And I do believe that this is not our last conversation.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about more stuff. More
Definitely.
I love it. It was my first Instagram live. I've never done this because I'm super like.
Awesome. And it's not my first time, but I could just speak about this topic forever and ever and ever.
Me too.
So yeah, thank you, Elena.
Super nice talking to you.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone who's commenting. It's super nice. Kim, I love you, Kim.
Thank you also everyone who has joined us today. I saw many people coming in and out and returning, so that's pretty awesome. And I think a lot of people seems like they loved it, and I do believe and hope that we were able, you know, to get you know, across some value. We will definitely save this IGTV. I hope Instagram will allow us. And yeah, feel free to share it with others. Feel free to, you know, like leave a comment of support. And just to remind you, this was a first webinar of our series of webinars, which will eventually turn into, you know, a closer women club, a networking club. And we will, you know, hopefully see all of you there also, because as we mentioned, you know, networking is important, and closer networking is very, very important. Again, thank you.
Yeah. I hope this is also like, you know, a shout out to all the women out there who want to, you know, connect with us, or I'm very open to that. I would love to connect with you know, everyone. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. It was amazing to talk with you. And yeah, let's talk again about another interesting subject.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. And have a good night and day.
Yeah, for me, well, it's morning here, so I still have the whole day ahead of me.
Awesome. Awesome.
All right. Now there? It's like 6, 7. No. What time is it in Amsterdam?
7:30 in Amsterdam. It's completely dark.
Yeah. Well, have a nice evening. Oh, I love candles. Have a nice evening, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Now, like, yeah, we can share the presentation.